Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day market video for market recap for Monday, the 19th of May. And I think just to summarize today really quick, very much buy the dip. I think investors figured out that this was a buy the dip opportunity. And what we've been seeing over the last week or so, especially with last week's gap up that happened at the beginning of the week, is that little dips are getting bought. And so clearly this situation with the credit rating downgraded by Moody's, I think investors have seen this a little bit before. Most seasoned investors, like I traded through, when the S&P downgraded the credit rating back in, I believe it was 2011, and that was more of a shock then. They did do that after the close too. I saw some complaint about why don't they do that during market hours? Because they don't. That's not what they do. They do it, so the market can kind of, so that everybody can digest it. But, that was a bigger announcement. That was the first time that was ever happened. But people forget, and it's amazing how quickly I guess short-term memory is. But it happened in 2023. Fitch did the same thing, and there was also a very there was a lesser reaction. I think the market was down like 1.4% that day that Fitch did it, and so the market very much shook it off. Is it old information? Probably. I mean, I think that everybody knows at this point that we've got a debt problem. And that's not a good thing by any means. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but we've been in this boat for a while, and I think everybody can watch how bad the trillions of debt that we've been compiling. So again, it's not a good thing per se, but it's also not a big shock. And I think that's why that you didn't see that big of a market reaction. And I think also that's, when you look to see what things were bought, it just again kind of shows right now that there's a lot of market participants that are not positioned the way that they want to be, and they're playing catch up. We saw last week, I don't have the MOC data every day, but like Wednesday stood out to me. There was a $5 billion MOC buy and balance. Thursday was a $5.7 billion market on close, and today I think it was 3.7 billion. So it tells me that like institutions, because institutions do this market on close buying, it's not retail that's doing that. Now you could say that there's a lot of things that a lot of other things that are going on. Retail is definitely involved in this market, but the MOC stuff, that's mutual funds, that's buying because they're tied to the close. So in any event, I'll move on from that. Risk disclaimer in front of you: everything that we're going through is for information purposes, not giving any advice or recommendations. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving any advice or recommendations. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. Just to kind of, I'm going to talk about some single stocks in just a minute, but just so that you could see the price action, and again, like as soon as we opened up today, you could see that we started to go higher. Like the first 5 minute bar, I would tell you that the dip was being bought, and was being bought very quickly. So let me just go. I just wanted to illustrate that very quickly. At the end of the day, what I've been watching is whether price stays above the 5 period moving average, not just for the indices, but also for some momentum stocks too. And you could see we started the day below the 5 day moving average, and price kind of managed to rally throughout the session, or almost throughout the whole session, and reclaimed that 5 period moving average. So we're staying above this, and for now that means that the short term, that price is staying above the short term trend. The market bulls are in control until this falters, until we see price slip back below the 5 period moving average. Very simple to kind of use that. That's why I have it on my charts. It helps me a lot when the market's trending, and we're continuing to trend right now in the short term. Upside VPOC is about another 1% away. As I said in last week's videos, we could get there whenever we want to. I like the grinding price action. It gives some really good price action in individual names. So I don't need to see the market go up 1 or 2%. I think we're seeing plenty of setups that are happening in single stocks. Just wanted to show the 1 hour chart too, because whenever we start the week, we have a new we have a new value area for the week, which is based on last week's all of last week's activity, right? And it gives us a sense of the range, right? So this is roughly like one standard deviation. So once we break above, right, we're breaking out of the range. So we started inside this week, clearly right in the middle of the value area, and we rallied basically, like I said, all day and got above the value area for the week. So now your support, what was resistance, is now support for the week, and that's 592.57. Qs, let's just do the same exercise really quickly. Same thing. We're above the 5-period moving average. VPOC up here about 0.75% away. And at the VPOCs, by the way, we could see some, that's where we could see some digestion. That's something that I would be watching for once we get there, but we're not there yet. Also, a little bit different value area because we closed right there. So 521.64 is the level to watch that I'll be paying attention till tomorrow, just as I post in my midday notes for you on Substack for you, which you could see that for free. I update them every day for you. And 525.90 is the VPOC that's going to be above. So again, just gives us a great roadmap of how to basically watch this. IWM looks different than the S&P and the Qs. You could see same thing, like we started right at the bottom, not same thing, but sorry, we started right at the bottom of the value area, and same thing in terms of we rallied all session long. You're going to have some resistance here at 209.34 in IWM. Let's talk about some single stocks. All right, so I think the one that I want to probably start off with is CoreWeave. That gave a really good buy the dip opportunity this morning. And again, using the same concept of I'm on the same, time frame, 1 hour time frame. This is something that was very strong last week. Shallow dips. The dip got bought very quickly after earnings, and we continue to kind of move up, give back a little bit, move up, and we gave right back into the top of the value area. So for me, that was a great place to say, okay, we're into some support, we're holding, and now we're bouncing, and we closed damn near the highs. So very nice move. And, we're a bit extended here on the daily chart, but clearly there's some momentum in this name. Just another one, we could look at a few different things, but also what was encouraging to me was Bitcoin today, which same thing, was down, started the day down, but you can kind of see how this turned out. I just look at a 5-minute bar here for Bitcoin, but same thing. Soon as we got to the 9:30 open, just buying. And to me, that's confirming that we've got a risk on environment, and Bitcoin is actually trying to get out of this range. Again, good example because I talked about the VPOCs that are above for SPY and Qs, and this could be what happens once we get to them. Notice this got taken out. Nothing wrong with this, really, just sideways consolidation around a lot of overhead supply, and now basically trying to take that next leg higher in Bitcoin. So a couple names that I pay attention to for cryptos. I've been long Robinhood. I've been buying on the dips, but like notice how neat this is. And I particularly like when charts are acting like this, or when names are acting like this, trending above the 5-period moving average, a little bit of consolidation, and then bang, right back to new highs. Right, so very nice in Robinhood. Also another one that saw option activity last week, took a little bit of a dip last week. We started the day probably in red a little bit too today, but notice it's the first time since the middle of last week that we're regaining this 5-period moving average. So dip down to the 20-day moving average, now back above the 5. That's textbook example of like what you want to see in an uptrend. And now you just need follow through above the 5-period moving average, but that's a signal. Signal may not work tomorrow. We'll see. But for now, that's, to me, that's a buy signal with MSTR going ahead and getting above the 5-period moving average. A couple other names that I want to go through. That I wanted to discuss, like Uber's doing the same thing. Like notice Uber's just staying above the 5-period moving average in here. I got a little bit extended in here, couple inside days, and then boom, then we start going again. And again, it really helps to see these things on the 1 hour chart too. You could just kind of see how Uber's been kind of rolling. So it's been giving you some opportunities. Like even if you want to buy the dip and then trim, you know, here's your, buy the dip, trim, you know, pulls back a little bit, buy the dip again, right? Same thing with today, down a little bit, buy the, if you want to, buy the dip, and again, I like when names roll like this, and continue to go higher, but do so in kind of a rolling fashion. I mean, it's pretty darn good to take a look at. CrowdStrike is another one. It's on our weekly watch list. A little bit more bumpy in terms of the back and forth price action, but the dips are getting bought in this one too. And for tomorrow, I think as long as we're above 442.70, this name might be resolving to the upside after a nice consolidation here. I would also watch the 20, even if you're already long, let's think as long as it stays above the 20-day moving average, I think we'll be pretty good. A couple of the power names. So I've been in and out of this one, GEV. I got out of this one about a week ago, and I kind of missed out on the gap up on Monday. But notice the nice little consolidation, how it's like giving you a chance to get back involved, right? Again, this is uptrending. It's been acting really well. I can't tell you how long that trend's going to last. It's not my and it's not my job to figure out how long the trend is going to last. It's just to try to participate in it and try to be in there when it consolidates like this, right? It's basically telling you that it's just pausing a little bit. So very nice day today, up 4.3%. I still long VST, which is acting okay. I do like the GEV a little bit better. And like I said, I've been in and out of that one and back in that one today. Couple other names too that I wanted to go over. I know everybody's looking at this UNH, right? Yes, it got above its 5-period moving average. Now, if so, again, counter trend type trade, you can set your stop to the 5-period moving average. Keep it simple, maybe around 300, and that would be something to watch. There is a VPOC that's up here. You're going to find these things, or sorry, not a VPOC, but you're going to get some resistance there at 335.40. All right, so that would be something to watch. This is our weekend watch list, and one name that I added today was TEM. Saw a late day call buyer in this one. I didn't have TEM on the watch list going into the week because it fell below its 5-day moving average. So a little bit weakness, and at the VPOC. It's not like the one chart that I showed you before, which was Bitcoin, where we took out a VPOC and we just went sideways. This started to kind of get a bit of a rejection here. So not to say that the story is over here, but for now the overhead supply won out. But if we can get back above the 5-period moving average, I would look a little bit different at him. One other last name maybe to kind of go with here, but I feel like I can go on with it for probably about 5 or 6 more names. But Rocket Labs, this is also a name that we saw some call activity in last week. Looks like it's headed towards this VPOC up at 2805, and for now staying above the 5-period moving average. I'll leave it there for now. Like I said, a lot of other names to go through, but I think for now, like there's enough good looking setups that things are acting pretty well. So I'll leave it there and just love the price action today. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.